Ray J just DM'd me.
What did it say?
He said I was right about everything, and he got something to show me.
The story of the Kardashian empire didn't just start with a sex tape. It started with money, manipulation, and a plan. For 20 years, we've been told one version of how Kim Kardashian became famous. But new legal filings, old receipts, and also Ray J coming forward and sharing his story publicly, sharing his story with me, tell a different version of that story. This is going to be a bomb-dropping video. A lineup of the story like you've never seen before.
Did you help Kim release her sex tape?
It's okay. No.
Before we fully dive into it, hi, my name is Julie Tice. Welcome back to my channel where we break down the psychology behind the headlines, behind celebrities, behind what they maybe first wanted us to see, and we see what actually is going on to learn more about the truth, but also to learn about us. And in this conversation, to learn about how deep the manipulation goes in Hollywood. And we're also going to learn what it looks like when we, the public, have been manipulated so that perhaps next time we won't be manipulated so easy. We won't fall for all of the tears that we've been seeing with this story. I promise to my audience that everything I lay out is going to at least be my truth, the version of events that I was told. I'm going to reshare Ray J's story exactly as it was told to me. I don't really have a reason to lie, and if I was going to lie, I would make it spicier, more salacious. Although this is pretty bad. Actually, it is pretty salacious. It's pretty bad for the Kardashians. But for legal purposes, I do have to say that everything in this video is alleged. Everything I share is for commentary and for educational purposes only. Once again, these are allegations, not proven facts. I'm not saying that they're facts, but what I will say, in my opinion, which I am allowed to have, is that Ray J's claims do line up with documents, timelines, and patterns of control that are honestly straight out of a psychology textbook. And I know that this video could probably be easily written off as gossip, but I'm actually not here to gossip. I'm here to show you how the psychology of fame and manipulation works, how one man has been the scapegoat of this entire empire, and how, despite their best efforts, the story of the Kardashians is far darker than we could have imagined. So I'm going to take it back for you guys real quick. I get a DM from Ray J himself, and he basically says, "You got everything right. There's some things I want you to see." I said, "Absolutely, I want to hear your side of the story," and I got his side of the story, which I'm not going to lie, part of that felt very validating, very vindicating. I know some of you guys watch my videos and you say, "There's no way you could have possibly known that." And I will say, unless I'm given permission, I will not share names, but Ray J is not the only celebrity that has reached out to me that has told me that I have got it right. But he has been one to give me permission about his story. And the crazy part about this is a lot of this is already out there. It is in public court filings. It goes beyond it just being on gossip pages. The problem is that this is quite a machine, and this has really been buried down. So what I'm going to do my best for you guys is to take you through the timeline so you have one comprehensive video so you understand what's happening, and then of course we're going to be breaking down the psychology along the way. I am going to be comparing documents with what Ray J shared with me as I asked questions that you guys are also probably wondering. So let's take it back. What is the setup before the fame? I'm not really here to retell the scandal. I'm here to tell the psychology of how it was engineered. Now, we've heard about Kim being Paris Hilton's closet organizer. We obviously know that she dated Ray J. So before Kim became friends with Paris Hilton, before she started dating Ray J, she was Brandy's stylist and closet organizer. Brandy is Ray J's sister, hence how they met. And when I say you don't know how dark this goes, let's just start off with the number one bombshell claim. Not only was Kim allegedly working for Brandy as her stylist, but this is also where she learned the psychology of pushing boundaries, which is where people in these systems of power will do. And it is alleged that she stole $120,000 from Brandy on her credit card. It states here, unfortunately, Ray J and Brandy's mother, Sonia Norwood, would come to learn that Kardashians, along with other members of her family, had stolen money from the Norwood family. Specifically, while Kardashian was employed for a period of time as Brandy's stylist, Sonia was involved in aspects of Brandy's business affairs. During the time Kardashian was employed as Brandy's stylist, Kardashian was authorized to use a single charge using Sonia's American Express card. Kardashian was not authorized to make any other charges. Nonetheless, it was later discovered that Kardashian made at least $120,635 in unauthorized charges to Sonia's credit card, including to purchase items for the Kardashians' fledgling clothing stores Dash and Smooch in furtherance of helping to launch those businesses. Yeah, this is actually pretty insane because when we think about the Kardashians and the narrative that they have continuously pushed is that they are self-made. And even when we speak about, we're like, well, didn't you come from privilege and your father was a lawyer? Actually, it's going even worse because if these allegations are true, not only were you not self-made as a Nepo baby, but you also claimed that you were self-made while riding on the back of a Black woman's success and taking her money to fuel your entrepreneurial ventures that you then say were this part of your empire. The lawsuit then goes on to say it was further discovered during this time that from 2004 to 2007, Kardashian and others in her family illegally and without authorization incurred over $700,000 in additional unauthorized charges from credit cards maintained by the Norwood family. In sum, Kardashian and certain of her other family members looted and misappropriated over $850,000 from the Norwood family, seemingly using these misappropriate funds to launch their careers as entrepreneurs. Let's talk about the psychology behind this. To me, this is really boundary testing 101. And this does happen early in narcissistic development. People learn that admiration and access can be leveraged. The rules are flexible for them, and the thinking goes, I can break boundaries and still be liked. It's the seed of performative innocence, the ability to cross ethical lines while still maintaining a clean image. This moment is historic. It's one of the first instances we get of the Kardashians' repeating pattern of extracting value from Black culture and labor and then repackaging it as they're geniuses. And you're going to continuously see this pattern in the form of social, aesthetic, and financial. And my theory on this is that this is what over time evolved as the Kardashian business model, appropriating aesthetic and emotional capital from Black culture while still maintaining the safety of whiteness. Do you guys see this, that the first alleged betrayal wasn't random? It set the tone. Every empire starts somewhere. And this one started with the unspoken message that other people's culture can be currency, that you can scapegoat off another person's culture if you package it right. And that closeness and proximity led her to dating Ray J. We know that this is the relationship that really launched 1,000 ships, that changed pop culture forever. So I had asked Ray J, I was like, where did this idea of the sex tape even come from? And Ray J did admit to me. He was like, I was sitting in my kitchen and I got this idea. He said Paris Hilton was having her big moment. She obviously had her sex tape scandal. Then that led into a successful reality TV show, which is also very interesting. I think back to those old interviews where Paris did not talk kindly about Kim. She did not like her.
What would you rather have, Jessica Simpson's rack or Kim Kardashian's ass?
I would not want that. That's gross. It reminds me of cottage cheese inside of a big trash bag.
Ow. And then I think about how much there is copy and pasting that Kim did of Paris's career. But not only that, how they became friends, as Ray J told me, is that Paris Hilton had this Bentley. Ray J had a Bentley. So he tells Kim, he's like, if you want to impress her, show up in this Bentley. It's all decked out. So from there, they say, oh, we have some things in common. And they become friends. Kim is aligning herself in this proximity of becoming famous. And damn, doesn't she teach us something about manifestation? Because in my belief, she was going to get it at any cost. So 20 years ago, Ray J calls Kim and he says, hey, Paris Hilton is obviously having a moment with this sex tape. I think you should do the same thing. And at this point, as he told me, they were not dating anymore. However, they already had a tape that they recorded sometime in Cabo together when they were dating. He goes, I think you should use this tape. Ray J accounts to me then. And apparently on this phone call is when Kim says, I need to talk to my mom about it, which is very interesting in my opinion. We are so numb to the fact that Kris Jenner is this momager, that she fits into their business model, that I think way too many of you guys overlook the fact that she is still a mother. And you have her child who really isn't that old at this time, is in her early 20s, and is talking about a sex tape that she made with her boyfriend and saying, let me call my mom. She's going to know what to do with this. So she calls her mom. And then Kim calls Ray J back and she says, my mom thinks it's a great idea, but we're handing it over to her. So from this point forward, Kris Jenner is taking the lead on this sex tape. And this was back in 2006, which also is referred to in this lawsuit. At Kardashian's request, Ray J agreed that Jenner could be the lead negotiator of the terms for release and commercial exploitation of the sex tape. As expressed to Ray J, Kardashian and Jenner wanted to negotiate a public release of the sex tape through Vivid Entertainment LLC, which I don't know if you guys remember, but this is a very different story than how the Kardashians launched the Kardashians, what they've continued to promote in their Hulu show. Because, right, wasn't their whole story that it got accidentally leaked? Didn't Kim Kardashian sit there in interviews with tears in her eyes saying she is so ashamed, she is so embarrassed, how could this get out? This was a private, intimate moment with her boyfriend.
I've always been concerned about the family, humiliating the family, and that's what I did. You know, and that's something that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life and have to explain to my children one day.
But according to this, it was planned. And I know all of us have kind of thought that. We've heard the whispers that this wasn't just leaked and there's jokes about it. I want you to really think about this. If these claims are true, what are your thoughts to the question of, did Kris Jenner prostitute out her daughter?
When I first heard about Kim's tape, as her mother, I wanted to kill her. But as her manager, I knew that I had a job to do.
And obviously, it was a hell of a good business decision. This is what launched the Kardashians' reality show. It is what launched their empire. And at what cost? But the cost doesn't matter to the Kardashians. This is what this story is showing. A mother who should be biologically wired to protect her daughter instead is seeing the dollar signs, instead is seeing how far can we take this, and has taken this as far as heaven and into the depths of hell. So what happened after they concocted this plan? Kris Jenner then introduces Ray J to Stephen Hirsch and Joe Francis to pursue a deal with Vivid. So this is essentially a porn company. These are the heads of the porn company. They're like, okay, we have to get this video out. We have to distribute it. These are going to be the guys that are going to help us do it. I will say this is exactly also what Ray J told me, that in or around October 2006, at Kris Jenner's Orchestration and Coordination, Ray J, Kardashian, and Jenner went to Vivid for an initial meeting with Hirsch and Francis to discuss the idea of releasing the sex tape and to negotiate the terms of a potential deal for release and commercial exploitation of the sex tape. And at this meeting, Ray J, Kim, and Kris agreed by and among themselves that the release of the sex tape through Vivid Entertainment would be presented to the public as leaked and entirely outside of the control of Ray J, Kim, and Kris. They agree among themselves that none of them would blame the other for leaking the sex tape and that the parties would not disparage or defame one another. Remember this part, because when you start to ask, wait, why is Ray J coming forward now? What is this all about? Is this about money? Remember, that part is very important. But what's also important is how much they got paid from this. By the way, these documents were already out there. Ray J blasted them, but this really got buried. So Ray J, Kardashian, Jenner further agreed with Vivid that Ray J and Kardashian would be entitled to 25% of the revenues derived from the sales. So Ray J and Kim allegedly split that, so 12.5% splits to each of them. And, Kris gets her little 10%, allegedly. Ray J, Kardashian, Jenner further agreed with Vivid that Ray J and Kardashian would each receive an advance of $400,000. That's how much they were getting paid for this tape. Each of them, $400,000 in advance. If you're sitting there thinking, damn, I need to make a sex tape, I literally had the same thought. But the story gets darker, especially with Kris Jenner's involvement. Because here's the thing, she watched the tape. She watched the tape, and let's just remind ourselves, this is a sex tape. This is her daughter taking back shots, taking things I cannot say on here, but you can probably imagine what goes on in a sex tape. And she says, I think we need to record another one. And this is actually in the documents of where they're agreeing on the sex tape. This is also what Ray J recounted to me. And that is that the first sex tape was more of a very like boyfriend-girlfriend-esque. Kris looks at it, allegedly, and goes, oh, we need to make it, we need more. So Ray J and Kim check into Santa Barbara Hotel and they record another one. And to his accounts to me, that one was much nastier, much freakier. When he rewatched it, he was like, there's no way. Like, people aren't going to believe this is leaked. It's like so performative. Kris goes, yes, this is the one. The nastiest, the freakiest shit. She goes, this is the one we are going to use. Keep in mind, they've told us this whole time, oh no, it was leaked. I can't believe it. I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed. I know Kim is also Armenian. She sat there fully with white girl tears on interview couches for 18 years saying, I am so ashamed. I shouldn't have had this happen to me.
He has made up the most insane narrative. We stay silent through all the lies for my kids.
Playing victim of something that she did sign on to. But it is for us to, I think, have a really interesting conversation. And I think we should be asking these questions of how much is Kim a victim? Because what I'm saying is, I'm so sorry, Kimberly, you are not a victim to this sex tape being released because these documents show that you consented to that. However, I do think Kim is a victim, and I think she's a victim of her mother who, in my opinion, prostituted her out by sexually exploiting her, letting her make a sex tape, and knowing that they were going to build this one day billion-dollar empire off of this. But what ended up happening in negotiations is they went with the first sex tape. So the one that is out there is the one that they recorded in Cabo. And at this time, too, what is stated in these documents, what I was told by Ray J, is then he does not have it. On that first phone call where Kim said, yes, let's go forward with it, but she's like, it's all in my mother's hands now. So he doesn't have a copy of the sex tape. It's not in his hands. Everything was given to Kris. And this is where the story essentially got very messy. So we're going to jump in this timeline. But back here, sex tape comes out. They're happy with the success of it. They're happy with how much money it made. It goes on to make millions in sales. Both Ray J and Kim received a substantial amount of money from this. And based on the attention of the sex tape, they were able to turn that into the show The Kardashians. And keep in mind that even at the very beginning release of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim and Kris are listed as producers. This was back in October 2007. And unsurprisingly, the whole first season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians is about the sex tape. So basically, a lie. I don't know how much trouble that they would, or if they would get in any trouble with E! Entertainment, because then they're pushing out this very fabricated lie under the guise of reality TV. But that's the story we all know and love and have believed. I've seen people defend, y'all look like clowns, in my opinion. But wait, there's more. Because then we get up to the release of their Hulu show, The Kardashians. And as so poetically written or produced, I suppose, the first episode, first season of that is also about this sex tape. And this is where motives have changed, because I'll walk you guys through this episode. Around the 41-minute mark of episode 1 of The Kardashians, Kardashian is in a conversation with her attorney while surrounded by family and states that Ray J's manager is claiming he has a sex tape of us in Santa Barbara. Kardashian further states, Marty, I'm 99.9% sure that no other tapes exist. She goes on to say, I really don't know what they have, and for 20 years this has been held over my head that I made a mistake. These, of course, as this document is stating, would be false statements, as Kim and Kris were completely aware that all the footage they have was not in Ray J's hands, and that, of course, it was them who put out the sex tape, allegedly. And then Khloe observes, didn't we go through this on our first season? Indeed, Khloe could not have been more correct in her observations, as Kris, Kim, and the rest of the Kardashians have built their career on this sex tape. And then Kim states, I'm 99% sure, but the fact that these people keep saying they have a tape, what if I was sleeping and he stuck, I can't actually even, I don't think I can say this, but he stuck something somewhere. I don't know. So again, this is where it gets pretty nasty because as you remember, the original deal was that they were all going to say they were innocent in this. And now this conversation has been taken from, oh no, it was leaked, to now I have an ex-boyfriend who's essentially extorting me, who essentially has revenge porn on me. Also saying like, what if I was sleeping and he did something to me? That is insanely accusatory, insanely defamatory, and once again puts Kim Kardashian at the center of being the victim, of being the poor girl who she just made a mistake. She was young. She did this sex tape when she fully was involved in this. And again, another incredible example of using Black people as a scapegoat. And I asked this to Ray J. I said, how do you feel as a Black man, especially when Kim Kardashian's new career is as a lawyer, freeing people who are innocent of crimes that they did not commit, right? That's her new branding. That's her new shtick. At the center of their empire is a Black man being used as a scapegoat, as the revenge porn ex-boyfriend for a crime he did not commit. And so this essentially is where Ray J said, y'all fucked up. Y'all spoke poorly on my name. When I asked him, I'm like, what, like, you know, why now? Obviously, I have to ask why now. So first of all, it isn't just now. This shit has been going on for a while. Behind the scenes, there have been leaks of him where he blasted some of the DMs that he had with Kim after this. And basically what he told me is like, you know, there is no money that is going to take away of how my kids will see me. He spoke to me about his daughter and needing his daughter to know that he is not this person that they are making him out to be. And this episode ends with Kim saying, I have all the time, all the money, and all the resources to burn them all to the fucking ground.
We have all the time and all of the resources to burn them all to the ground.
Never go against the family.
Never go against the family.
And then it cuts black, very dramatic. And then we get into it again on episode 2. Again is around the sex tape. And the title, the episode 2, Did Somebody Tape That? And indeed, episode 2 immediately begins in its first minute. Kim saying that, so Ray J's manager is claiming he has a sex tape of us in Santa Barbara. As Ray J has told me that is not true. But Kim goes on to state within the second minute, I'm trying to pack for SNL. I have to deal with all this sex tape drama. And it was never happening, allegedly. She said, this is shit I did when I was young and I need to own it. Kim goes on to state in episode 2, that was 20 years ago. I did not know what to do. I had no money and I did not know what to do. I have all the time, all the money, all the resources to burn them to the fucking ground. I will do everything in my power to protect myself and to protect my kids. So I'm not going to be shamed by this and bullied. Which is a very, like, I guess kudos to Kim, because in that way she is 100% being a victim while making herself seem like a very empowered victim. Like, I will not be bullied by this. But you're the one who set it up. You're the one who set it up, Kimberly. What do you mean you need to prepare for SNL? You wanted this drama there. And then you have Kanye and he comes with the suitcase and is like, I got the tape back. Ray J did not have the tapes in his possession, allegedly. But how they made it look is that Ray J is over there holding this over Kim's head, extorting her, wanting money, wanting power, just ruining her whole SNL performance. And then Kim, with this whole SNL drama, Kim says, I really want this moment. I don't want to be thinking and stressing about something else. Like, I have a lot on my mind. And then she calls Kris and states to Kris, all on speakerphone, did you find out what the blogger was going to leak? And Kris replies, no, you really can't worry about it. You're doing SNL. Right now you need to focus on and put your energy in that. This too will pass. But again, at least from what all these documents state, is that this entire crisis was false and manufactured. There was no unknown footage being held over Kim's head to extort her. And I mean, damn, the Kardashians are smart because they really turned that shame into currency. And I do think it's interesting how they kept up this story of it was leaked, it was out of both of their hands. And then they kind of flipped it once the Kardashians came out. Like they needed They needed a victim for the victim tears. And Ray J ended up being the perfect villain. And years later, we still get them defending that they had no part in this sex tape. We have Kris taking a lie detector test, saying that she had no part of it.
Did you help Kim release her sex tape?
It's okay. No. No.
True.
Of course it's true.
Thank you.
Of course it's true.
So if that doesn't make you guys never believe these celebrity lie detector tests, I don't know what to tell you. But what we are also seeing is a very strong narcissistic family dynamics at play with the media. And that is using gaslighting as PR.
So look, with this in mind, are you ready to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you Bible?
Bible.
Deny, dramatize, and profit, which is what they have done with the sex tape.
Did you feel betrayed by it?
I felt humiliated. I felt like...
You know there are people who say that you put it out yourself. You know that.
Yeah. And, you know, I think why would anyone put that humiliation on their family like that?
Because what were you worried about most, yourself or your family?
My family.
The Kardashian rise is a masterclass in what psychology would call narcissistic image management. And that is that they shape every narrative, and no matter what happens, they're the victim.
I have to live with for the rest of my life. That is something that's like being held over my head.
When a narcissist is caught doing something questionable, they don't defend, they reframe. They pivot in their power and fame. I was betrayed, humiliated, taken advantage of. Do you see that this is an emotional sleight of hand? It allows them to never take accountability, and while at it, they get sympathy.
You okay?
Not okay.
In narcissistic systems, playing the victim isn't a weakness, it's strategy. It keeps the focus on them while disarming criticism. Every public scandal gets written into a redemption arc. Look at how she survived this. They discovered that pain and even sexual humiliation sells better than perfection. And how convenient almost every breakdown was followed by a business drop. And it's crazy because their business model models the same narcissistic system that they have set up in their family. Because narcissistic families do operate like corporations. Every single person has their role. Scapegoat, golden child, fixer, the matriarch. And us as the public, we became the bystander enabling parent, rewarding each new confession, each new episode drop with clicks and cash. And I think they did see that they needed a permanent enemy in this. In this instance, now it's Ray J. Sometimes it's critics, sometimes it's the ex-husband. I mean, this is the psychology of triangulation. And narcissists often hide control behind altruism and empowerment. That's what we are seeing when Kim is saying, I won't be bullied anymore. I'm going to burn them all to the ground. And I remember watching this, she got me. I remember saying like, that is horrible. But by framing the manipulation as female agency, they gained cultural protection. And at this core, this is trauma theater. Narcissists create chaos, not to heal from it, but so that they can remain at the center of it. And I guess it turns out that victimhood is the most profitable of all. You guys, I think this video is extremely important. I was told not to go ahead and do this video.
Never go against the family.
I was told there would be repercussions for doing this video. So if you do see it, just know that your like, your follow, your share means the world to me. Thank you for being here. I do believe that this story is not over. I know I was reaccounting documents. I know I was reaccounting what I was shared. I do want to say if Ray J ever does want to come and sit down and share his story, I will give him fully the space to do so. But what I wanted to just set up in this video is to make the framework clear of manipulation. Because I do believe we built a culture that rewards manipulation. And we should be asking ourselves, who do we keep applauding? I'm Julie Tice. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.